Hey everybody, I'm Rob.
I'm Smitty.
We want to welcome you to the Fifth Quarter Podcast. One of the great things about being a student here, I believe Smitty's a student as well, is the Business and Technology School was ranked fifth best in the nation, Smitty. And I understand we're both students of the Business and Technology Department. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So being ranked fifth best in the nation has its perks for quality and affordability. So if you are a senior in high school and you're thinking about where to go to college, we encourage you to look into the Business and Technology program or any IT-based certificate courses or maybe degree programs that are offered here at Chipola. We encourage you to check that out. So, Smitty, let's hop into it, man. As an FSU fan, you know we're what 5 games into the season, finally get a win over Syracuse. Real unexpected, man. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, it came as a surprise to me, and all hands on the field goal of all things. It gave me flashbacks on the Notre Game game.
Notre Dame game.
On that Notre Dame game, I had awful flashbacks, especially when he missed it, like wide left, I believe.
Yeah.
And the kick came up right, straight and narrow, and I bet that was a huge relief to the Florida State team.
Oh, absolutely. And going back to that Notre Dame game, I just have to say, do you think when our kicker, I believe it was it a 56-yarder at the time, Norvell takes the timeout, I believe he iced his own kicker at that point. I feel like if we could have had that one back, I say FSU would have started the season 1-0. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, it's kind of hit and miss. I mean, you can look at it from both sides. Yes, you can say he iced his own kicker. However, he played it to where he needed to get a closer feel because if it wasn't for that sack that turned into an incomplete pass, they would have gotten a closer yard to have a bigger chance of making that field goal. But in the end, icing the kicker does the trick, and we could have been talking about a completely different Florida State team going from that point forward. But it's just after that, it's just kind of been hit and miss, especially after the Jackson State game, where a Hail Mary of all things just crushes the Florida State team on a Zone 2 defense, I believe.
I want to say it was 2-man under coverage is what we were running at the time.
Yeah, and I don't know what was going on to the defensive coordinator, but I mean it cost him. And there's also been rumblings of new defensive coordinator want to fill in that spot. So hopefully this win will actually help them in the long run.
Well, you know, you don't want to say that we got lucky because as you know, Noel fans, it's always important never to give up on your team. That's one of the things I talked about to the audience last week. You know, we talked about never giving up, and even though, you know, it's been a rough, you know, first 4-game start, you know, going 0-4 right out of the gate. I mean, it doesn't boast well for your fan base. You got boosters to think about. You got fans that are trying to give tickets away.
Not to mention the recruiting class as well.
Yeah, I think we had a tight end. I want to say, I don't remember his name because it's right off the top of my head, but I want to say we had a tight end decommit just this week. I'm not knowledge on that one yet, but I do know that one of the commitments for Florida State also got injured in one of his games as well. Don't remember the name for sure, but it might be a huge blow. Hope the recruit comes back and recovers the full health. So. Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's a young kid, got his whole life ahead of him. So obviously, you don't want to see a recruit, you know, have a career-ending injury or anything like that, especially before he gets to the next level. But Smitty, you know, it's really been in a rough start to the year. You know, we hadn't went 0-4 since 1974. You know, that was the Bowden era when he took over as a head coach in the 70s. And you know, the dynasty didn't start till I want to say the late 80s when Dion and some of those other guys got there, and then that started the 14-year dynasty. And then it was like, you know, 2000, the BCS era. You know, we lost against Oklahoma in a national championship. I want to say that was like our 4th appearance. That was truly the end of the dynasty. But then you noticed how Bobby, over the span of the next 9 years, 8-9 years, you know, really carried that Florida State team. You know, we always say it, you know, here on this podcast that Doak Campbell, Florida State's football program, it was the house that Bobby built. I don't think you would disagree, would you?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, Bobby Bowden built that Florida State dynasty. He built it from the ground up. He put care and love to the program, and it shows throughout the history of Florida State. And the only thing now is, with everything said and done,
Can Mike Norvell create a new Florida State team from the ground up, just like Bobby Bowden did? I mean, only time will tell, and the Florida State administration has to give them a chance. Of course, it helps better when you're winning, but in the long run, how long does Florida State administration give him? Will they pull a Willie Taggart, or will they give him fill out the entire contract that he was owed? So it's a wait and see game at this point.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with that. So you would agree with David Coburn, the athletic director, coming out, I want to say it was the day of the game this past weekend, and said that Norvell's our guy, we're going to improve, we're going to get better. Didn't give any indication that the boosters or the athletic director was thinking about getting rid of the guy. So you would definitely say we're moving in the right direction as far as keeping Norvell, correct?
He kept it short, simple, and straight to the point. And that's the kind of support you need to have behind your head coach.
Oh, absolutely, no question. And to even do one further, it's kind of hard to make your case when you go 0-4 right out of the gate. But to be fair, let's play devil's advocate. You're dealing with recruits from past administrations. So you've got that. You don't want to say necessarily a lack of discipline, but it's a lack of drive, heart, and determination to necessarily win football games. Would I be correct in making that assessment?
Yes, and it's also harkens back to the coaching staff as well. They have to train them, teach them well, but they also got to get behind their players. Not really to be a player's coach, but install that discipline, install the expectations that not only that the coaches have, but the fans have as well. So it's only the second year of Mike Norvell. I say, even though it's a bumpy start,
Right.
they just need to keep winning like they did against Syracuse. But their next opponent is going to be a really tough customer in North Carolina. They're about 3-2 in the AC in overall season, and they're overall favorites against Florida State and their turf.
And one could see why, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, given the start to our season, you go 0-4, and you finally, that's another thing. We were talking in the dean's office last week about how we were due for at least one win. I just don't think we thought it was going to be against Syracuse.
Well, Syracuse is hit and miss. I mean, if you look at the overall stats here, I mean, what it really came down to is fourth down efficiencies and rushing yards. Florida State actually came in 2 of their fourth down conversions. That is paramount, especially when you're trying to get field goal range or trying to go in for a touchdown.
Yeah, something else, if I could just butt in here just a minute. We also only had 3 penalties totaling up 30 yards. You'd rather not have any penalties at all, but compared to the last 3 games, I think this team in this game on this particular day was a little more disciplined than anything we've probably seen in the past.
Yep, you're starting to see those gears turning in those student athletes, trying to make sure what's their role, what they need to do, what they need to adjust.
And keep a level head as well, because, like I said, it goes back to what I just said a while ago. You're dealing with recruits from previous administrations that necessarily, they don't have the level head at times. All it takes is one missed executed block, one missed tackle, or it takes a player jawing at you, anything to break your concentration, and the next thing you know, you've forgotten what you're even out there on the field for. You're just there to fight. And see, at Florida State, that was something we kind of prided ourselves in, was being a disciplined football team, not making the mental mistakes, not losing our cool, when the game is on the line. You look at Florida last year, LSU comes to, the Swamp, and Florida had the game won. What do? They make a tackle. They take the guy's shoe. I think he lost a shoe. I don't know if you remember that play. You know what I'm talking about? Takes the shoe, throws it out, just as a gesture of pride and showboating. Ultimately, I would say he cost the Gators that win.
I believe so, too. And a shot at the playoffs. But who throws a shoe? Really? I mean, who throws a shoe?
Apparently the Gators do.
I think he's been watching too many Austin Powers movies.
Yeah, the soul. They're going to make a movie called The Soul of a Man.
Oh.
I mean, if you're going to play football and you're going to do it right, especially at FSU, you got to be disciplined. If Nick Saban will tell you, and I'm not an Alabama fan, you're not either, but Alabama's one of those programs, they have a plan for success and they stick with it. Nick Saban, if you pull any of those stunts out there, like if half of our players, if Nick Saban ever come to Florida State, which that would be a prayer answered, Nick Saban wouldn't put up with just one penalty. You know, he's a coach that loves to take care of the little things. If something gets out of hand, he's going to correct it. He's going to correct it right there and make sure you understand, and then we're going to move forward. I would dare say that Alabama is a very disciplined football team, and if any player, even his best player that hasn't messed up all game, gets one penalty, I've seen Nick pull him over on the sideline and give him a chewing like they ain't never had.
Well, regardless if you're an Alabama fan or not, and you have to give respect to Nick Saban. I mean, he is like the pinnacle of college football. I mean, he built that dynasty to what it is today, and you got nothing but respect for him. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Alabama, but I mean, all dynasties don't last forever.
No, I mean, you know, Bear Bryant's dynasty didn't last forever either. What would it come down around the 80s? It kind of started toppling off. You know, the Bear passed away, but he built such a legacy at the University of Alabama. And you know, when Alabama went downhill, that's another thing. They went through several coaches before Nick got there, and I think Nick is kind of like the modern. You know, you don't want to speak out of turn, but I dare say he's probably the modern day Bear Bryant.
I can agree to that.
Yeah. So moving back to the Noles, Smitty, you know, there's not much else to break down. You know, the Noles win 33-30, very surprising win, racking up 378 total yards. You know, the passing yards were pretty impressive at 131, especially given that Jordan Travis started over Mackenzie Milton, because we were talking on the way over here, Milton is not a rusher. Travis, you know, there were several times where he felt pressure in the pocket. He was able to get outside, you know, gain you 3, 4, 5 yards, sometimes make a big play when it called for it. And I think that was the difference maker in this game. I know we only won by a field goal, but I still say Jordan Travis was probably the difference maker in getting us in a position to win this game.
Yeah, because the mobility of Jordan Travis is really was the key to the Florida State success against Syracuse.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I think if I remember correctly, he broke the record for rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, I believe, for Florida State.
Now, that sounds about right, because to the best of my knowledge, I don't think we've ever had a quarterback at the caliber of Jordan Travis as far as getting outside the pocket, being able to pull a Michael Vick per se.
Right, but the caveat here is that Jordan Travis is young, a little bit inexperienced, but with this kind of win, I'm hoping, along with the other members of Florida State, especially the receivers and the defensive and offensive linemen, that feeling of success is going to be wanting more and more. All the gears have been clicking ever since the game previous to against Syracuse and Louisville. So. Only time will tell.
Yep.
The North Carolina is going to give them a rough time, especially in their home turf. But judging by the odds, we'll see.
Use that term loosely, correct?
Sure.
Definitely sure. So with that, we'll move forward into the program. Smitty, did you catch any NFL this weekend?
I'm hit and miss, but for the most part, I caught a little bit of the Saints game against New York Giants, and I cannot believe the New York Giants pulled off a win in overtime. I was really hoping the Saints kind of win their first game back in the Dome, but props to Notre Dame. But I am disappointed that the Miami Dolphins kind of fell short on the ball against the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, that's kind of an understatement, isn't it? You know, it's been almost like a disappointing season. You know, we're 1-3 now. You know, to all the Dolphins fans out there, you know, you beat New England week 1 in New England, 17-16. Probably shouldn't have won that game, but found a way to win. And you know, you're on a roll. You're thinking, man, we just beat, you know, the Patriots, and then you go a 35-0 shutout loss against the Bills at home. You're thinking, ouch. I mean, that really hurt, which I said in the podcast several months back that the Bills are probably going to be one of those teams in the AFC East to kind of watch for. I think they're going to make it back to the AFC Championship. That's just my take on it, of course. And then, you know, week 3, you go to Las Vegas and you play really good against the Raiders. You know,
the Raiders have been surprising this year. I mean, I think they're playing tonight as well.
Yeah.
So, and they're undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, it's for good reason. You know, John Gruden has finally got, you know, that organization kind of turned around. Week 3, though, we lose in double overtime by a field goal to the Raiders. You know, that's really one that Miami should have won. Tua goes down in week 2. That's something else I didn't mention. Tua goes down with fractured ribs in week 2. He was going to be out for several weeks. So Jacoby Brissett, the backup, comes in and takes snaps up under center. Miami doesn't have the offensive line, you know, to give the quarterback time to make the necessary plays that he needs to make. So it's just pure chaos down there. And then, you know, you cap off a 27-17 loss to an 0-3 Colts team at the time with Carson Carson Wentz under center with previous ankle injuries to both of his ankles, and he really don't have a whole lot around him to work with. That's a game we really should have won. And we were talking on the way over here, Smitty. Brian Flores, the head coach, had the audacity to say, I don't see us making any changes. Well, something's going to have to give because the fan base in Miami is kind of fed up. Year after year, Miami has a habit of trading away veteran players and starting over with all rookies. The way I see it, get you a few star veteran players in there. I think we got Jason McCourty, the brother of Devin McCourty, that's one of the corners for the Patriots. We got him down there on defense. We got two of the best corners in the league in Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. Miami prides itself in that. But it's the offense, man. You got Michael Gaskin in the backfield. He's good for 5 or 6 yards. He's a good power back. You got Will Fuller at wide receiver, and then you got Devontae Parker. That's 2 solid catching hands. On the offensive side of the ball, it just seems like to me we need a QB and we need 5 up front that can really hold their blocks.
Yeah, and going over the passing yards and rushing yards, the problem's there. The offensive line is not giving him time for the quarterback to do what he needs to do to gain some yardage.
Yeah.
They only average 4.1 yards per carry or per game.
And it doesn't boast well if you're trying to intimidate other teams in your division either.
Not really, especially, and it's kind of disappointing so far, considering the fact that last season they were the only team with a double-digit wins in the season and didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So,
and how do you go from that to this year is just beyond me. Smitty, I would dare say, is it poor planning and preparation by the coaching staff and administration in Miami?
It's a possibility, but then again, it could be that the teams that play hard win the game. So
you are what your record says you are, and 1-3 is clearly. Indianapolis 1-3, Miami's 1-3. It's honestly saddening to me how a coaching staff can look at this record and say, well, the execution is just not there. Everybody's set in place, and we've got the people in the right positions. We're just not executing. I'm sorry. I think the people that you have in place, if they're not executing, they need to take a seat on the bench. You need to get you the third string quarterback in. Brissett has always been a backup quarterback. Tua's supposed to come back in a couple of weeks, and everybody seems to think, there's half the fan base is kind of divided there with the Dolphins. There's half the fan base that thinks Tua's the guy. He's going to help, which he started week 1. And then, you go week 2, he goes out, Brissett comes in, we start losing games. You don't want to pin it on any one guy, but I would have to say poor planning and preparation. And to kind of recap to our audience, just our final game we want to talk about, Smitty, Bucks traveling to New England to face the Pats.
Ooh.
Papa Brady coming back home to New England, man. What's your thoughts?
Went back home, kicked some butt and took some names.
Hey, the score was a lot closer than what I thought. Are you surprised?
I'm actually surprised it was a lot closer. I actually thought in the long run New England was going to make an upset.
Right.
But you know what they say about Tom Brady? Do not give that man time behind the line of scrimmage, because if you do, Atlanta Falcons, the Rams,
and I bet it's painful for them to relive those games. Very painful.
Especially the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, if we got any Falcons fans watching, we're going to kind of move forward over that one because that's kind of a touchy subject, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It pretty much set the standard for – then again, it's Georgia. They're known for choking. Sorry.
Anyway.
Sorry.
Just had to throw that in there, didn't you?
Hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is. So, the Bucks eking out in New England 19-17. Brady looking good, man. 261 passing yards. I believe he broke Drew Brees' record for the all-time passing yards. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So he joins the ranks of Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, guys like that. Drew Brees. That's something to hang your hat on. Averaging 5 yards per play. And on the other, let's give some credit where credit's due, though, Smitty. The former Alabama quarterback Mac Jones got it done too. 295 passing yards, averaging 5.4 yards a play, 20 first downs. They were 2-9 on third down efficiency. That doesn't boast well.
Yeah, but the major problem is the rushing yards, -1 yards.
Yeah.
That kind of what got them in the long run, because you look at Tampa Bay,
yeah.
The 119 rushing yards, with the passing yards at a 261. That's averaging of about 5.1 yards per play. Mm-hmm. Now, despite New England having 5.4, you see the record on third down and third down and first downs and all that.
And time of possession, Tampa Bay had the ball. What am I looking at here, Smitty? That's what, about six more minutes, 5-6 more minutes than New England did.
And the best part is Tampa Bay did that in New England's turf.
So are we calling for a Tampa Bay repeat to the Super Bowl, or is that a little too early?
It's too early to tell. I mean, there are other teams in the running. The Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
I think they're 3-1, I believe.
Think they can keep the success?
Well, if they can make it past the divisional round, who knows?
Hey, when you're on, right? Mm-hmm. So, guys, let us know in the comments section some more teams that you may or may not want us to talk about. Smitty, as always, man, it's good to talk with you. Good to talk some football, college, and pro.
Good to be here. An honor to be here as well.
Yeah, man. And we will see you guys, Lord willing, next week.